Which is the best stock to buy? The trade desk or Meta platforms? I'm going to answer that question in this video, comparing the two advertising stocks on four different financial metrics, starting with annual revenue growth. So let's begin. Looking at this metric, you can see the trade desk is ahead of Meta platforms in each of the last 5 years, edging it out, especially in the most recent year, where the trade desk generated 31.87% revenue growth compared to negative 1.12% growth of Meta platforms. Interestingly, the trade desk was highlighting all year long that it was growing at 3 or 4 times the rate of the overall advertising industry. In other words, it was gaining market share at a rapid clip throughout the last 4 quarters. Oppositely, Meta platforms had been decreasing revenue growth, decelerating revenue growth, while the advertising industry was growing. So Meta platforms was losing market share. There are several reasons for Meta platforms' market share losses, including the rise in popularity of TikTok. People were spending a lot more time on TikTok, and that's time that taken away from time they were spending on Facebook and Instagram. Secondly, Apple changed its privacy policy, making it harder for Meta platforms to sell targeted advertising. And so marketers were less willing to spend on Meta platforms because their advertising was less targeted. Marketers prefer more targeted advertising because it's more efficient, it's less wasteful, and it shows ads to people that are likely to be customers. So, for those reasons, including more reasons, Meta Platforms revenue has decelerated, and management hopes that they've fixed some of those issues, including the launch of its own short video platform that's gaining in popularity, right? Meta Platforms management keeps saying how every quarter the company's customers are using its short form video more and more and more, and that's time that they can recapture away from TikTok, so that's going well. But it remains to be seen how much they can re-accelerate revenue growth going forward. The next metric I wanted to compare these two advertising industry stocks on is the net profit margin. Looking at this metric, Meta Platforms is significantly ahead of the trade desk and has been for several years. In the most recent year, Meta Platforms' net profit margin at 19.9% was multiples ahead of the trade desk at 3.38%. And going forward, I suspect that Meta Platforms' net profit margin will increase because of the significant cost cutting campaign the company has undertaken over the last several months. Meta Platforms has announced layoffs, cost cuts, reduction in real estate footprint, and all of those moves are likely to bring increases in profitability going forward in the second half of 2023 and starting the full year 2024. The next metric I wanted to compare the trade desk and Meta platforms on is cash flow from operations to sales. I wanted to see how good they are at turning sales into cash flow, and Meta platforms ahead of the trade desk, although not by as much as it is ahead in terms of the net profit margin. The difference here could be that the trade desk uses a greater portion of non-cash expenses like stock-based compensation compared to Meta platforms, which narrows the gap between net profit and cash flow from operations. And according to this, Meta platforms at 43.3%, still ahead of trade desk at 34.78%. I will note that both of these are very strong numbers. 43% and 35% are very strong numbers for cash flow from operations to sales. The final metric I will compare these two on is valuation, looking at the forward price to earnings ratio. The trade desk is more than twice as expensive as Meta Platforms, trading at a forward price to earnings of 40 compared to a forward price to earnings of 17 for Meta Platforms. So, given all of the four metrics that I looked at comparing Meta and the trade desk on, putting it all together and deciding which one of these two is the best advertising growth stock to buy now, I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. I would choose Meta Platforms as the best one of these two to buy now. Alright, so that's all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I'll see you again next time.